right, record. And slides. Chapter 15 is about economic and environmental policy. That is the government's part in economic policy as well as in our environmental policy, and how that contributes to our prosperity. And the portion of the Constitution that this chapter would be examining is, we the people of the United States, in order to ensure domestic tranquility. So we're going to begin with the very basics. And today we'll just focus on the economic policy, probably finish up with the economic side of it. Can you guys hear me okay? I just had a thing that said internet connection was.
Yeah, we can hear you fine.
Okay. We'll finish up with the economic part of the chapter Wednesday, and then begin the environmental part. So an economy is simply a system that has the components of production of goods, production of services, as well as the consumption of those goods and services. The use of the resources that a country has to produce those goods, and then how these goods and services are exchanged from the producers to the consumers. So that's an economy, a system, and this is on page 448 of your textbook. A brief historical concept to know about economies is the type of economy that's called laissez-faire. And that's a French phrase which simply means the market that is laissez-faire is a free market. It's one that is free from, and you can see here in the second sentence, government regulation. For the most part. It would be to the far side of if we were to look at types of economies, which I'm going to show you here in a little bit on a graph, it would be the extreme side of one, laissez-faire, free market, a hands-off approach from the government, so that people who are merchants and producers of goods are free to offer their goods in the marketplace. Government, if it has any role at all, should be very, very limited. Now, the other extreme on the opposite end would be basically a communistic or socialistic economy. Socialistic being where the government controls all of the economic factors in a marketplace. We as Americans, we absolutely subscribe to the laissez-faire policies. Some of you noted in your Ballotpedia assignment, you learned about Bernie Sanders, and he basically is a socialist, right? He wants to distribute wealth more evenly in America, and he wants to tax the super rich even more than they're being taxed. And so he would call himself, though, a democratic socialist, not a basically like a communist socialist. But anyway, we as Americans, for the most part, believe in laissez-faire. But the reality is, and make sure you know laissez-faire for the test, and then make sure you know about a mixed economy, which is on page 449. The United States is basically a mixed economy. It is one where both the government and businesses, as well as private individuals, are involved in the economy. They both have responsibilities in making decisions. You guys still hear me good? I got another notification that my internet's unstable.
Yeah, we can hear you fine.
Okay. The government will, more on their part, they will give guidance and regulation to the production of the goods. Individuals own how things are produced, whether it be an individual private business or whether it be a private business that has a group of stockholders or shareholders. They own the means of production. That way, a mixed economy will protect consumers and workers from unfair policies. That ties in with the government having regulations. At one time, right, we had a time in our nation where there were a few rich barons in our country, and they had monopolies, and they were not paying their workers fairly. They were not offering any kind of insurance. They had long work days. Our house is right next to an alley that goes between our house and the church. And our alley is basically a roadway for lawnmowers and trucks and things. So that's what that noise was. Anyway, the government, in giving guidance and regulation, they are there to protect consumers and workers from the business owners taking advantage of them. A mixed economy is one of the most effective ways for providing goods and services. In the United States and most Western European countries are mixed economies. Here's our graph here. A pure market would be what we would say laissez-faire, where there's absolutely no or almost no government involvement. So you can see the United States, Britain, and Canada, Germany, they're all, mixed would be kind of in the middle. These countries are leaning towards a laissez-faire. Pure command economy is basically a economy that is purely commanded or controlled by the government. So you can see that Cuba, Venezuela, Russia, they all lean towards this way. This is just another slide that has showing how the government intervenes in the free market that business owners and individuals are a part of, and how the government works on each of these aspects, or helps keep it balanced, we should say. Any questions on these types of economies? So you'll want to know laissez-faire and mixed economy. Now, this whole section that we're dealing with is about the government being a regulator of the economy. And so there's two, in regulating the economy and then therefore creating a mixed economy, there's two key goals that the government is aiming for. Number one, the government wants our economy to be efficient. So basically, it is setting up regulations and rules and guidelines so that producers, business owners, will get the most output with the least inputs. And this is spelled out on page 449, that if they can be efficient, then business owners and producers can produce more goods and services, but also use less labor and materials. This simply means that our society is getting as many of the goods and services that are possible from the resources that we have to produce them. So that's being efficient. This will stimulate competition between business owners and producers of goods. A second major aim of the government regulating or being a part of the economy is economic equity. So you'll want to know economic efficiency and economic equity, which economic equity is basically the concept of fairness. And the government sees to it that all parties involved in an economic transaction are treated fairly. So those that own businesses and those that produce goods, those who work for those business owners, and then those who buy the products, the consumers. Excuse me. The goal is in economic equity that all three of those groups are treated fairly in this in the economy. An example of this is the minimum wage. The minimum wage is created by probably our Department of Labor. The minimum wage is set so that business owners, which they will get a little bit more, but that's to be expected. They are the ones who own all of the materials They have to pay for the materials. They have to pay their employees. They have to go by all the guidelines. So they should get a bigger piece of the pie, but not so much that they are basically standing on the backs of their workers and the consumers, so to speak. So minimum wage is designed to give a fair wage to workers, help the owners of the businesses still be able to make a profit, but they can still pay their employees a fair wage, a living wage, and they can sell their products at a price that will make money, but that will not break the consumer. So this concept of equity is something that government wants to make sure is addressed. If you have your textbook, I want you to know what the textbook calls 3 waves of reform in terms of regulation by the government. This is at the bottom of page 453 and goes through 454. I mentioned earlier that business owners took advantage of their workers in many ways. The waves of reform began during the progressive era of the early 1900s, as you can see at the very bottom. The first wave of reform was to stop corrupt business practices. So you'll want to know that. Stop corrupt business practices. If you'll turn the page, the next wave of reform came during the Great Depression time of the 1930s. And the goal was to restrict destructive business practices. And then in the 1960s and 70s, a third wave of reform was observed or was implemented. And this third wave promoted environmental protection, consumer protection, and worker safety. So be familiar with those 3 ways of reform. So the government, being a regulator of the economy, is to promote economic efficiency and economic equity as they regulate a mixed economy. So any questions on that?
No.
All right, we will stop there. And at this time, in Panama, if the House will move to, from where I am, it's the left side. It'd be your right. I think Haley is the House Minority Leader. So if all the House will move over there, then the Senate will move to my right, your left. And is it, Mary is the Senate leader. If you all will move over there. And at this time, Connor and Caden, you guys probably, why don't you just kind of circle up? Connor and Caden will present your proposed bill to the Senate. Kylie, Kaylee, Callie, and Michaela will present your proposed bill to the House.
No, do we? Yeah. Come over here.
Haley and Mary, you will control how the discussions take place. And then if Cheyenne and Katrina will come up to the front by the camera so you can
Yeah.
talk with Haven and Joshua.
Mr. Meeks, do you want their like information emailed to you, what they came up with?
Yes, please. So what you're going to do now is it's going to be presented. You're going to start discussions. You don't have to get through today. Haley and Mary, I would appoint somebody to take notes.
Okay.
And that way, if there needs to be a redrafting of the bill, you have those things down. And so just start discussing it after they share it with you.
Mr. Beans,
Yes.
this is Mary.
Yeah.
You wanted us to do, if you wanted us to take notes, or we pick someone to take notes if there's any like adjustments that we think need to be made to the bill. Is that what you said?
Right. Yeah. That way, Connor and Caden will have those notes as they go back
Okay.
and
You need-
redraft.
I know, but did you say? Do you want to know who's taking notes? Yeah.
Haley and Mary, just appoint somebody in your groups to take the notes. And Joshua and Haven, are you all close enough to where you can hear Katrina and Cheyenne? Have you all been able to see the goals, Cheyenne and Katrina?
Yes.
Okay. So if you have any suggestions to them, Haven and Joshua, have you thought of something else? This is the time to discuss that. And I will be here as a government what's the word I'm thinking of? Government advisor, if you need any help.
So do you want us to go ahead and start?
Yeah.
Start groups? Okay.
Haven and Joshua, you might need to move closer.
We can hear you.
Oh, okay, okay. So Haven, you're the president, so take it away for your group.
I don't know what I'm supposed to do. Well,
You guys have any suggestions or questions for Haven or Joshua?
No. No.
you don't think we should change anything?
I mean, what you came up with sounded pretty great. Yeah. It's better than anything I could come up with. Yeah.
Did I send you all a well, you can't see it yet. Sorry, never mind. Now you did send me a copy, right, Haven, of your goals?
Yes.
Let me bring those up. Okay, so I'm going to share them so we can all look at them together. So can you all see that now?
Yeah.
All right. Make them bigger. All right, so use the money or have more diverse foods for students with food restriction to have more opportunity to eat in the cafeteria. So we have a Secretary of Health and Human Services, Joshua, and a Secretary of Education, Cheyenne, that will, Cheyenne being from the House, no, being that's a cabinet position. I guess they're both cabinet positions. But education would involve the food choices for public schools. So you have here, use the money to help buy vegetarian and vegan foods, less expensive food options, snacks in the classrooms, more diverse food options for gluten-free, lactose intolerant, and more, what's that? More student what?
Just like more like students with restrictions and stuff.
With what?
Restrictions, like what they can and cannot eat.
Okay. So here's what you all might want to do. Are there more restrictions and are there more allergies than just gluten and lactose?
Yes.
You might want to find that out. Here's something you might want to do as a reference to kind of give you some ideas. You guys, when you were younger, President Obama's wife kind of led a crusade to make school lunches healthier. I don't know if you guys recall that. Don't know how much of an effect it had in LaFleur County, but you may, Haven, want the three in your cabinet to, or one of them, read up on what all that entailed. What were some of the goals and steps and action plans that they took to make the schools healthier. That's just an idea. And you might search for, did they try to make options available for gluten-free, or people who have to be gluten-free, people who have lactose allergies. So you could have one person do that, study the Obama plan, one person try to find out as many possible allergies as that would be widespread. And then you might have one person look into ways or to see if there are schools that provide snacks in classrooms and how they do that. These are just some ideas I'm throwing out that maybe can help you maybe make your goals a little bit more specific. That way, any bill that comes to you will be able to be put into your grid, so to speak, and see how well it matches up. Also, if you, next Monday when we meet, I mean, we're going to have more time to work on this week, but next Monday, if you will come, this is the executive branch, Haven and her cabinet. If you all will come next Monday, doing a little bit more detailed research, as I talked about, and you don't have to take necessarily the exact things I said, but work on making these more detailed and specific. You can share those next Monday. We'll call it a press conference, a presidential press conference, where you will share your goals for a healthier public school system. And that way the Senate and the House can hear that, and that might help them more in their crafting of their bills. So is that clear?
Yes, sir.
All right, so that gives you all a week, and I'll let you now discuss how you want to do that, Haven, with your team.
Got it.
So once we've talked about this, like once we've read over it with our group,
What? Say that again?
the House. Once we've read over the bill with the House of Representatives, what do we need to do?
Okay. Were there, you've read over it, now discuss it. And, you know, open it up for, you might just say, since you make the rules, you might say, okay, you get 2 minutes to share your thoughts. Get somebody to keep time, because they actually do this. They have a timekeeper.
Okay.
And whoever wants to share their thoughts or suggestions on it, they have that opportunity now. Or ask questions of the committee.
All right.
Are you all communicating through email?
We're texting.
Okay, okay. I'll help you out, guys, a little bit if you are going to go into more details. My son has a casein allergy. It's something that's also in milk. He doesn't have a lactose allergy. My daughter does, but he has a casein one. So he drinks I think, rice milk or almond milk. My daughter drinks the Fairlife milk. So that's another dairy related allergy, casein. I think it's Kaysin. Some people are really allergic to nuts, it'll make them swell up like a dead horse in the sun. How do you like that analogy?
Questions, concerns?
Let me see. And if you want to learn about other allergies, one of the best ways to do it is to find the health food section in Walmart and read the labels, and it'll say gluten-free, vegan. I have all those things on it.
That's my question.
Oh, we have little kids that come to our vacation Bible school, and their parents have to tell us they cannot eat anything with red dye because they're allergic to red dye. So they couldn't drink like a juice box with fruit punch because of the red dye. I mean, there's a lot of things out there. If you guys are done discussing, and you guys can, once you get done with whoever's talking now, you can shut her down for the day, and we'll pick back up Wednesday. I would like a summary from Haven, Mary, and Haley of what you did.
What?
Please email me a summary of what you did today. Like if you just discussed, just say we just discussed.
Can we just email it to you later tonight or something?
Yeah.
Mr. Beans.
Yeah.
It's Mary. When was the bill, like, my group, when was that bill due? Was it due like this last hour, or did you need it emailed to you?
No. Now they shared their proposed bill, right?
Yes. Well, yeah.
Yeah. Technically, you guys, neither of you should be absolutely done with your bill, unless you all decided we like the way it is and there's going to be no changes.
Okay. We didn't finish ours, but we are going to make some changes to it.
Okay. So no, I just needed Connor or Caden to email me what they proposed.
Okay. They didn't do it. So that's what she's worried about, because she's worried about it's going to affect her grade because they didn't do that.
Oh, I see. Well, if you want to appoint a new committee, you have Kylie, Katrina, or Kirsten.
Katrina. Katrina's not in my committee. Is she?
Katrina, right? Oh, no, I'm sorry. She is a Senate member, but she is the, actually, she's the vice president. So, yeah, it'd be Kylie or Kirsten.
Okay. I'll fire her. Thank you.
And, yep, okay.
Fired. So, Kayla.
We'll see y'all Wednesday.
Bye.